normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over.
Call her out.
Yes.
Call her out.
2018. 2020.
Yes.
2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you.
Yes.
The people who are cheering for losing in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Think about who's moderating this debate. This
Can we
should be
please
Tucker
get a camera of her
Carlson,
face?
Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party.
Totally.
You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They would do it.
That's great.
So I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment.
man.
Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years.
Wow.
Was that real, or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer
Good
the question.
on
Go.
Whoa.
He is on
Good for you, Vivek. Whoa, did he just knock what's her name out of second place?
The 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to
Go,
Governor
Vivek.
Wow. Honestly, maybe the best line out of all the debates that there's been was that.
His time is yes, that's the best opening of a debate I think I've seen in my whole life.
Governor Christie, why you and not former President Trump?
Look, you said it at the beginning of the debate. We are dealing with extraordinarily important issues facing this country right now.
Wait, are those crumbs on his shirt?
We have our greatest ally in the Middle East.
I made you all
under
look.
fire from a terrorist group that has
It was
committed
believable.
Of course it's
to
believable.
wiping
Look at that
them
man.
and every Jewish person in this world off the map. We have Ukraine with Vladimir Putin, a communist KGB dictator who wants to put the old band back together. He's starting in Ukraine, and he's going to move to the Baltics and Poland after that.
No, he's not.
We have inflation in this country that is choking.
That is
choking every American family that wants to try to rise up and give their children a better life. And tonight, we need to decide which president is going to be the one to tackle the big issues, who's going to make this country look once again, not just inward, but look outward at the world and say America is the country, the indispensable nation that makes this a safer world. And in a safer world, American innovation, American hard work has always been the thing that has driven our country to greater things. I'm going to be the president who will do those big things. We're not going to be small, and I'll say this about Donald Trump.
We're not going to be small. No, we are not.
Year and a half of their life focusing on keeping themselves out of jail and courtrooms cannot lead this party or this country, and it needs to be said plainly.
Governor, thank you. Let me turn to Senator Scott. Senator Scott, you've said former President Trump can't win. Make your case to Republican voters.
Well, certainly. What I would say without any question is that the truth of my life destroys the lies of the radical left. We need a president and a candidate who will actually help our base solidify and attract independent voters into our party. The Great Opportunity Party is now winning back African-American voters and Hispanic voters because we are working on a foundation based on faith. Our nation is facing some deep challenges. It is the loss of faith in this nation that is a part of the erosion that we're seeing every single day. It's restoring faith, restoring our Christian values that will help this nation once again become the city on the hill. When Ronald Reagan talked about the city on the hill, he was coming from Matthew 5. When President Lincoln talked about a house divided, that was Mark. Our founding documents speak to the importance of a faith foundation. You don't have to be a Christian for America to work for you, but America does not work without a faith-filled Judeo-Christian foundation. I would be the president that helps us restore faith in God, faith in each other, and faith in our future. Without that focus, none of the issues, the policies matter. We have to get back to being a nation that is, in fact, the city on the hill, that believes in each other enough for us to fight
Senator Scott,
for that
thank you.
future.
I hate
Senator
it
Scott,
when they
I just
talk
wanna turn
like
out of
this.
I just want to say real quick, Vivek didn't answer the question about why he should be the president over Trump. Oh, yeah.
Just showed us why.
Because, well,
Exactly.
it's an impossible question to answer if you don't want to piss off the Trump base, but he knows how to answer the question in a political way.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I think
100%.
Ian's right. He just demonstrated. He demonstrated the kind of leadership, the kind of aggression, the kind of confidence that you want in someone that would be commander-in-chief.
And didn't anger Trump if he wants that other slot.
He actually was
helping
Trump.
Yeah.
To do at this moment.
Here we go.
Governor DeSantis.
I would be telling Bibi, finish the job once and for all
Holy.
with these butchers.
Whoa!
They're terrorists.
Wow.
They're massacring innocent people. They would wipe every Jew off the globe
Ron
if
just
they
lost
could. He cannot live
tons of support.
with that threat right by his country. That Hamas should release every hostage and they should unconditionally surrender. I'm sick of hearing the media.
I agree with
I'm
that,
sick of
but-
hearing other people blame Israel just for defending itself. We will stand with Israel in word and in deed, in public and in private. And I can tell you, as governor, I actually did something about it. Biden's neglect has been atrocious. We had Floridians that were over there after the attack. He left them stranded. They couldn't get flights out. So I scrambled resources in Florida. I sent planes over to Israel, and I brought back over 700 people to safety.
I respect that.
There could have been
that was
more
great.
hostages
Absolutely.
had we not acted.
The lack of
I'll tell you this, I
specificity
met
in the
first
opening is
plane
the
load,
problem,
when they
because
came to
for all of
Florida, and one
us
the mothers
who
pointed
went
to a
through
6-year-old daughter,
Iraq and
she
Afghanistan,
said, my daughter had been saying
it
the
could
last
feel
2
like,
nights,
hey,
Mommy, I don't
we
wanna
want to
hear
break
any
this
more
open
bombs,
to a
no
huge
more
wide
rockets.
war
I
instead of
just wanted to
targeting
get back to
Hamas.
Florida. So there's a difference between words and deeds. We acted and we saved lives.
Thank you. Ambassador Haley, what would you do? What would you be urging Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do? Would you consider a humanitarian pause, for example?
The first thing I said to him when it happened was I said, finish them. Finish them. And the reason is I worked on this every day when I was at the United Nations. And we have to remember that they have to, 1, eliminate Hamas, 2, support Israel with whatever they need whenever they need it, and 3, make sure we bring our hostages home. We need to be very clear-eyed to know there would be no Hamas without Iran. There would be no Hezbollah without Iran. There would not be the Houthis without Iran. And there wouldn't be the Iranian militias in Syria and Iraq that are trying to hit our military men and women if it hadn't been for Iran. And who is funding Iran right now? China is buying oil from Iran. Russia is getting drones and missiles from Iran. And there is an unholy alliance. We need to be clear-eyed. The last thing we need to do is to tell Israel what to do. The only thing we should be doing is supporting them and eliminating Hamas. It is not that Israel needs America. America needs Israel. They are the tip of the spear when it comes to this Islamic terrorism, and we need to make sure that we have their backs in that process.
What does that mean?
Thank you. Mr.
The tip of the spear in regards to this Islamic terrorism. Like, it's causing it?
I think she means the tip of the spear in the war against Iran, personally.
I think she means like they're going to be the first bodies we sacrifice.
I would go one step further. The founding vision of Israel was based on the idea that they don't want to depend on anybody else's sympathy or direction in defending themselves. So what I would tell Bibi is that Israel has the right and the responsibility to defend itself. I would tell him to smoke those terrorists on his southern border, and then I'll tell him as President of the United States, I'll be smoking the terrorists on our southern border. That's his responsibility. This is our responsibility. That's how we move forward. But I want to be careful to avoid making the mistakes from the neocon establishment of the past. Corrupt politicians in both parties spent trillions, killed millions, made billions for themselves in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, fighting wars that sent thousands of our sons and daughters, people my age, to die in wars that did not advance anyone's interests, adding $7 trillion to our national debt. And Joe Biden sold off our foreign policy. Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, got a $5 million bribe from Ukraine. That's why we're sending $200 billion back to that same country. The fact of the matter is the Republican Party is not that much better. You have the likes of Nikki Haley, who stepped down from her time at the UN. Bankrupt or in debt was her family. Then she becomes a military contractor. She joins the board of Boeing and otherwise, and is now a multimillionaire. So I think that that's wrong when Republicans do it or Democrats do it. That's the choice we face. Do you want a leader from a different generation who's going to put this country first? Or do you want Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels?
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Oh, no.
Senator Scott, yes,
Wow,
Senator, same
oh,
question.
no.
You're the president. You're on the phone in the Oval Office with the prime minister.
Wow. He's been working on these zingers for a while.
We need the Joe Rogan meme from the UFC fight, too.
You have the responsibility and the right to wipe Hamas off of the map. We will support you. We will be there with you. We'll stand shoulder to shoulder. There will be no daylight. But I would change the station a little bit, though, and head back home to America. I would say to President Biden, diplomacy only is a weak strategy. Appeasement leads to war. From President Obama to President Biden, Obama sent millions to Iran. Frankly, President Biden has sent billions to Iran. That is why I've said that there's blood dripping from the hands of President Obama and President Biden. I would tell President Biden with great clarity, if you want to stop the 40+ attacks on military personnel in the Middle East, you have to strike in Iran.
No.
If you want to make a difference, you cannot
coming.
just continue to have strikes in Syria on warehouses. You actually have to cut off the head of the snake, and the head of the snake is Iran and not simply their proxies. In order for us to have a powerful response
every time someone mentions
from America,
we're not sending our young men to die in
a position
Iran.
of strength.
Right. No, Iran is not
my
Iraq.
foreign policy is simple.
It is not
you
the
cannot
same
negotiate
kind of
with
thing.
evil.
It is a
you have
technologically
to
advanced army.
All right, Senator Scott, thank you. Governor Christie, I want to get you to weigh in here.
Look, Lester, these problems are so big and serious that the first thing I would say...
Why does he keep making size references? I'm trying to be responsible here.
No matter what it is you need at any time to preserve the state of Israel. Remember that Hamas's main goal is to get rid of Israel, is to get Israel absolutely off the map. Now, there are three things I think I would say to him when he asked for advice. The first I would say is that it is absolutely your obligation.
All right, real quick, I got to read the super chat from Daniel Trinka. He says, I'm confused. Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels. Is he talking about Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis?
Both.
It creates greater unrest in the entire region. Second, you must go in and make sure that Hamas can never do this again. The fact is that Israel and their intelligence community failed. They failed here, and they failed the people of the state of Israel. And so we need to work closely and better together to make sure, one, that they're degraded, and two, that we know everything that's going on inside the Gaza Strip when it's going on, so that something like this can't happen to kill 1,400 individuals again. And the third thing is to keep your eye on the ball. Make sure that we continue to isolate Iran. Work with the reasonable nations in the Middle East, the other Arab nations who want to partner with you, and make sure that we continue to isolate Iran so that their only friends in the world are the part of the evil foursome: China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea.
Governor Christie, thank you very much. And we're going to continue in this vein right now with a question from Matthew Brooks, the CEO of the Republican Jewish Coalition, a partner of the Republican National Committee in this debate. Here it is.
Given attacks by Iranian-backed proxy groups on U.S. military bases in Syria and Iraq, attacks that have wounded approximately 24 of our U.S. servicemen, do you support the use of military force by the United States against Iran?
No.
Governor Haley, would you please answer that?
Yes, I'd first like to say they're 5-inch heels, and I don't wear them unless you can run in them.
So she's accepting she's Dick Cheney.
We got two of you on stage.
He said what you said. We got 2 of you on stage.
I wear heels. They're not for a fashion statement. They're for ammunition. What we need to be doing for
is Ron wearing them? Look at his
Syria
shoes.
is, first of all, the idea that our men and women could be targeted, and that we've allowed almost 100 hits to happen under Biden's watch is unthinkable. We need to understand this is Iran giving the green light, telling them what to do, and we shouldn't be doing the tit for tat like what Joe Biden has done. We need to go and take out their infrastructure that they are using to make those strikes with, so they can never do it again. Iran responds to strength. You punch them one and you punch them hard, and they will back off. But what we don't need is Biden falling all over himself to get back in the Iran deal, him giving $6 billion to get 5 hostages home, him telling Netanyahu now that he needs a pause or a ceasefire. We don't need him going and sitting there tiptoeing around Iran because he thinks they're going to do something. You don't don't respond to an enemy and a terrorist with fear. You respond with strength. When you do that, that's when the world pays attention, and that's when Iran stops.
Thank you. Governor DeSantis, if I can continue with you. Just today, the U.S. launched another one of its limited airstrikes against targets in Syria, this time Iranian-linked facility. How far would you go militarily to hold Iran accountable?
Well, first, Matt, thanks for your question, and I appreciate what you've done over the last month. I know it's been very difficult for the community, and appreciate you guys rallying together in difficult times. I actually served in Iraq back in the day, and we had al-Qaeda in Iraq. You had Shia militias that were funded by Iran that were killing hundreds and hundreds of U.S. troops. And as Commander-in-Chief, I am not going to put our troops in harm's way unless you're willing to defend them with everything you have. Biden has them out there. They're sitting ducks. He's doing glancing blows. That's just inviting more attacks from the Iranians. I would say you harm a hair on the head of an American service member, and you are going to have hell to pay. We are not just going to sit there and let our service members be sitting ducks, and that's true whether it's Iran or whether it's any country on the world. We have to be strong, and we have to defend the people who defend us.
All right, thank you, Governor. Now our second and final question from Matthew Brooks of the Republican Jewish Coalition. Please watch.
Jewish students across the country are threatened and under attack.
Yes, they
What
are.
do you say to Jewish students on college campuses who feel unsafe given the dramatic rise in anti-Semitism? And what do you say to university presidents and college presidents who have not met the moral clarity moment to forcefully condemn Hamas terrorism?
It was a professor who killed that Jewish elderly man.
Absolutely. I think the scourge of anti-Semitism across this country, including at places like my alma maters and places like Brooklyn Bridge in New York, it's sad to see, but here's what history teaches us. Anti-Semitism is a symptom of a deeper cancer in a country and a society that is lost, and we are lost. Several years ago when I wrote my first book, Woke Inc., I was talking about they were chanting death to America. Death to white people, death to Christians. Nobody was waking up back then. Now it's even bad. Now they're saying death to Israel and worse. So it is wrong, but we have to get to the root cause here. Now, I think it's really important that we do this through leadership, not censorship. Leadership means fill that void with purpose and meaning. Dilute this wokeism and anti-Semitism to irrelevance. These kids, they have no idea what the heck they're even talking about when they're siding with Hamas over Israel. They are fools. But I also want to caution here, if we go the direction of Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, with whom I respectfully disagree on this issue, pro-censorship, telling student groups to disband, mark my words, soon they will say if you question a vaccine and its side effects, you're a bioterrorist. Soon they will say that if you show up at a school board meeting, you're a domestic terrorist. Soon if they say that J6 prisoners should be released, you're an insurrectionist terrorist. So that's where this road ends. We don't quash this with censorship because that creates a worse underbelly. We quell it through leadership by calling it out. These university administrators have lost their way, and we need leadership at the top in the United States of America that restores our founding values and that has no place for this kind of anti-Semitic hate. That's where I stand while
He
respecting
texted
our
me
Constitution.
when Ron DeSantis made that move, and I talked to him about it, and he was critical of what Ron did in shutting down these groups, despite the fact they claim to be Hamas. But I said that to Vivek. I was like, hey, man, these they're claiming to be Hamas and support Hamas. And then he said effectively what he was saying. He was like, no way, dude. If you let him make this move, it's just a bunch of dumb kids. They're going to go after everybody. I'm impressed. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.